And blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning here at KIDO Talk Radio. I guess we could call this, review and commentary on the elections. Elections heating up. We're a few weeks away. By the way, I do want to remind you and invite you to Terry's Cafe in Meridian. We'll be there May 17th. We're going to do the morning show from there. And we, along with the State Republican Party, are asking folks to join us to unify after a pretty brutal, contentious primary season, whether your candidate's running for governor, lieutenant governor, or what have you. We definitely would love to see you there at Terry's Cafe. And then we'll be on our way to the Unity Rally. We're going to have breakfast. We're going to carbo load. And then we're going to go to the State House steps. And hopefully everybody that joined us for breakfast, all the candidates and their staff will join us to rally for the general election. I think that's needed now more than ever when you're thinking about the contentious primary season. Now, earlier we were focusing in on this debate between the congressional candidates. We'll talk about the gubernatorial candidates in a minute, but here's the line of the night, I think, from Representative Perry.
Canyon County. And I'm here tonight because I want to be your next congressional representative from the 1st District. Right now, the average congressman is a 58-year-old white male who's been there for a long time, and almost half of them are lawyers. Very similar to half the candidates on this stage, except me. And my one question for you tonight is, what have these good old boys done for you lately? I'll tell you. They've given us a $21 trillion deficit. They have bankrupted the Social Security Trust Fund. They have no solution for our health care crisis or immigration crisis. And right now they're working on rules to infringe on your Second Amendment rights. We need something different. We need a strong, conservative, Republican, Christian woman in Congress. And I'm asking you to send me, Christy Perry, the girl with all the guns, to fight for you.
There we have it, courtesy of Idaho Public Television. Got to give it to Representative Perry, making the most of her gender. But as a male, do you find these comments offensive? As a female, do you find them pandering? For me personally, I'm thinking, I don't know if you need to go there. But again, I'm not running for office. My opinion is, when you start having these, these issues where we're saying, hey, it's the men that did this, it's the white men, it's a 58-year-old white male, and those are bad people. Now, she didn't say that, but look, I guess you have to use what you have, and she is the only female in the race, and she was pretty hard on those folks last night. But again, no one has ever questioned her work ethic. No one has ever questioned her tenacity and her competency. But again, I'm just sitting there going, is this how we're going to pick our congressional candidates? The fact that we have a bunch of good old boys. Well, the problem is, even if you're a good old boy, they don't like you. You can take a look at the good old boys on Bannock Street, right? Unless you're in the club, you have the President's Club, then you have the Governor's Club. Unless you're in that club, then you're not going to go anywhere. So again, as we do, our mission is to focus on the views, the values of the Treasure Valley. When you hear these comments from Representative Perry, do they inspire you, or do you think, I don't know if I would have gone there? 580-5436, 580-KIDO. I would say that this young lady's very charismatic. She's been elected to office, and she's a fighter. On the other hand, well, again, smacking the good old boys. Let's go to the phones and find out what you think. Number one. Number two, because we always play the hits, local, state, and national, wake up to Shock Radio. By the way, Dave Petzel will be with us tomorrow. He's on assignment somewhere.
We are graced with Sarah's presence tonight. I have to say I'm a little starstruck. I love you as Aunt Lydia in The Handmaid's Tale.
No, again, these are the swamp creatures known as the White House Press Corps. They had a dinner. You had a comedian up there making fun of how people look, how people act. It was totally deplorable. The president, on the other hand, had this to say concerning being in Washington. He was in Washington, Michigan, talking to the folks.
By the way, is this better than that phony Washington White House correspondence? Is this more fun?
So we're locked and loaded. Let's go to the phones. Brian in Nampa with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Brian.
Morning. Yeah, I can't wait for this election season just to be over with. It's just I've got such voter burnout with all these guys throwing stuff at each other and gals, by the way, pardon me. Christy Perry, she's an embarrassment. She reminds me of that comedian Wolf at the PNC, or what is it, press club meeting the other night. She just takes the easy way out. When she said the other day at the debate about Representative Hagedorn, I guess it was, you do realize I'm packing, right? To me, that just took all credibility away from her, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, Brian, thank you for the call. She is running on the gun issue. She is running that she's a woman, and she's going to stop the good old boy networks. By the way, if you missed it, there was a brief discussion back and forth concerning, well, a few issues. Repealing the Affordable Care Act without a replacement plan. You had other people going back and forth on this as well. You had Representative Malik trying to take shots at Senator Fulcher. Michael Snyder, who will join us later in the program. It was back and forth, but again, back to the comments. We know the average congressman is a 58-year-old white male. What have they given us? $21 trillion in debt, a bankrupt Social Security system, and no solutions for health care. Think about that as we roll along. Does that influence your vote? 580-5436, 580-KIDO. That is one issue. The other is of this crazy issue involving Michelle Wolf, involving the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and whether or not they should just get away with this. As I've said before, I think that this issue, how should we put this? This dinner is nothing more than a charade. When we're talking about making fun of the president, right? Other issues, I'm a little bit shocked, but I guess Senator Fulcher isn't paying attention to what's going on in Congress. This is from State Representative Malik. My point, once again, is that the branches of government were focused on what they're supposed to be focused on. We wouldn't be running down these rabbit holes. Now you have Alex Gallegos, who we don't know who Alex is. He just moved into the district, I believe. He's a military officer. He's a nice young man. And if you know Alex, maybe he can outreach to us here, and we'd love to have him on since we have all the candidates on. I guess Nick Henderson, he couldn't make it last night. And you have to wonder about the seriousness of his candidacy if you can't make these events, right? But I go back to Alex Gallegos, a retired Army veteran. He says he has the discipline to stand up to Congress. We need to change who we elect. We need to elect leaders who have the courage, and we need leaders with real-world experience. I see how that works. But again, we really don't know much about them. Then you had the moderators from the Idaho Press Club. Here is Betsy Russell. You tell me whether or not this is a loaded question.
It's common for members of Congress to be highly critical of a president and that president's administration when that president is of a different party than the member of Congress. But when the president is of the same party, sometimes the silence is deafening. Are you willing to hold this president, should you be elected to Congress, and his cabinet to the same standards that you would have for a Democratic administration and be vocal in your criticism?
And there we have it at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. What are they going to say? No. Of course, as pro-life has said, as Kevin Miller has said, as you have said, I mean, we didn't really hold the Obama administration accountable, right? Right? Loretta Lynch, Eric Holder, Lois Lerner, the IRS, the FBI, Hillary Clinton. Congress didn't do anything. Maybe that's why these folks are always trying to out-Trump each other. By the way, David Leroy responding that Congress needs an experienced statesman more than they need another girl with a gun. It's almost as if he knows about our contest coming up soon. Girls with Guns. What is it, episode 3 or 4? I think it's episode 3 that we will be having coming up here at KIDO Talk Radio. More on that in a minute. However, at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, here's another question from the debate that nobody watched last night.
Have you seen any comments or behavior from President Trump that raised ethical concerns for you?
Well, yes, Betsy. And in fact, when I get there, I'm going to go join the Robert Mueller fan club. Now, here's a legitimate question. What are you going to do to represent the people of Idaho? And here's another one. Congressman Labrador has endorsed Senator Fulcher. Do you agree with Congressman Labrador's decision to endorse Senator Fulcher? How would you continue on the Labrador legacy? See, nobody ever asks the questions that the real people get, right? I don't know. Maybe they like being members of the hoity-toity, let's go to the basement of the Idaho Public Television and get on television and, again, have these debates. Very disappointing indeed. And then you have one guy who couldn't even tie a tie last night.
How would you work with a potential Democratic majority in Congress?
Right. It's almost as if they're cheering for the opposite team. So, all right, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Based on what you've heard, and again, reports are very sketchy. We're playing you a little audio, and I guess we could play a little bit more from last night's debate concerning the congressional folks. Also, the governors, they're getting ready to go. Your thoughts on that as well, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And back to what Christy Perry said. She's a girl with a gun. She's different. You've had the 58-year-old white males, which, again, I don't know why you bring in gender. I don't know why you bring in race. These are the same things that we criticize the left for. Why should we be following in their footsteps? Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.
Against this president have all fairly well shown not to be extant in a year's or more worth of investigation. For instance, Russia collusion. That has just collapsed, according to the House Republican Intelligence Committee.
There we have it. Our friend David Leroy running for the House of Representatives, District 1 in Idaho. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO if you want to sound off on the race for Congress. Number one. Number two, there was some fireworks over the weekend. You had a failed comedian by the name of Michelle Wolf lay the smackdown and personally attack several members of the Trump administration.
Wolf responded to some of the criticisms, writing on Twitter, "Why are you guys making this about Sarah's looks? I said she burns facts and uses the ashes to create a perfect smoky eye. I complimented her eye makeup and her ingenuity of materials." In another tweet, Wolf pushed back on the suggestion that her jokes were about Sanders' appearance. She said they were about Sanders' quote, "despicable behavior." Here's some of what was said.
Every time Sarah steps up to the podium, I get excited because I'm not really sure what we're going to get. You know, a press briefing, a bunch of lies, or divided into softball teams. It's shirts and skins.
For the second year in a row, President Trump declined an invitation to attend the dinner and instead held a rally of his own in another Washington, Michigan.
And there we have it, our own Ellison Barber at KIDO Talk Radio.
Good evening. Good evening. Here we are, the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Like a porn star says when she's about to have sex with a Trump, let's get this over with.
And let me apologize for that comment. We could play you more of those, and we could bleep things out. And maybe you'll hear that later on today on Glenn or Sean or with Lars, and we'll talk to Lars coming up. But we value ourselves as a family-friendly show at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. So sometimes we don't play all the graphic stuff, but this was supposed to be a lighthearted dinner. This was supposed to be people getting together and doing their own thing and having their way. You know, again, people are supposed to have fun. It's a roast, right? Well, it went terribly wrong. And as you heard earlier, our own John Decker, who is a member of the White House Correspondents' Dinner, was on stage with Sarah Sanders when this occurred.
We are graced with Sarah's presence tonight. I have to say I'm a little starstruck. I love you as Aunt Lydia on The Handmaid's Tale.
Right, and again, attacking Sarah Sanders' personal appearance. Now, whatever happened to the Me Too movement? Whatever happened to, look, we're going to judge people by their intelligence, we're going to judge people by their character, and not get mean and nasty?
The most useful information on CNN is when Anthony Bourdain tells me where to eat noodles.
And it continues. So the point being that this comedian, who never should have been there, and I often question the reason why we have this White House Correspondents' Dinner. You go to Washington, you're a fat cat, you feel important, and you make fun of the president. What message does that send to world leaders? What message does that send to others? It sends the wrong message. And here you have Donald Trump, who's out with the real people in Washington, Michigan, talking about real issues.
So when I say I'm negotiating NAFTA, and if they don't make a fair deal, I'm terminating NAFTA and I'll make a great deal. You're going to do much better. I don't blame them. You know what? I don't blame them. I don't blame President Xi. I don't blame Prime Minister Abe of Japan. I don't blame the heads of these countries for taking advantage of us. I blame past presidents and past leaders of our country.
Much more from the president next, but again, it shows you, and if you've ever engaged with the libs on social media. Now, look, just like conservatives, there are good libs, there are bad libs, there are friendly libs. In fact, I like to have fun with the libs. And that's what this program's about. It's political talk, it's opinion talk, it's kind of a way to, to have fun with things. And Kevin, these are serious issues. Yes, that's our plan, to have fun with the issues. To cover things like other people cover them, like the sports or what have you, right? At 580-5436. And we have contributors, and we have characters, and we have everything else. But when you go too far, and it's always funny how the libs will, like the other day somebody said that this program, Kevin Miller's a right-wing extremist. And I'm thinking to myself, a right-wing extremist, okay? Pretty much, my life is an open book. I am conservative. I am a person of faith. But because I disagree with you politically, you're going to target me. And I've said this for years, and I wish I were wrong. The most intolerant people you're going to meet are the leftists, the progressives. Now, some libs, they have a sense of humor. But other ones, they called me a lib. Well, what are you? Well, I'm a lib. What's wrong with that? It's a little different than what Michelle Wolf did. And if you ever engage with these folks on social media, and I've done a little twittering back and forth, tweeting, I guess, where I'll do this when the president says something. I go, right on, Mr. President, you're the greatest. I'll have 10 to 15 responses wishing me death, to me, to my wife, because on my profile I say proud husband to Dorothy, to my little doggies. They don't even like my little dogs. And then they say, well, you're from Idaho. Of course you're stupid. It's just crazy. And this right here shows you what we're up against. Again and again, mean people.
You helped create this monster, and now you're profiting off of him. And if you're going to profit off of Trump, you should at least give him some money because he doesn't have any.
I thought Hillary Clinton used to wake us up every morning with her obnoxious voice. 27 after the hour, traffic and weather together. And back to the phones. Let's go to Hank in Boise with Kevin Miller and KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Hank.
Good morning. Before I talk about Christy Perry, I was noticing what you were saying about the attacking your dog. It reminds me of old FDR's old speech before the Teamsters of 44, and now they're attacking my poor little dog, Fala. But talking about Christy Perry, she was the establishment girl. I mean, Butch would say, go fetch the paper, and she'd fetch the paper, and she'd jump, and whatever Will Scotty Becky wanted, Christy delivered, and she was their attack dog against Heather Scott. So, I mean, and this does have a relevance to her running for Congress, because I don't want another establishment type who does what she's told, and everything else. I want somebody who will help elect a leader from the Freedom Caucus. We don't need another Boehner. We don't need another Paul Ryan in the speaker's chair. And I'm afraid that little Christy Perry is going to do exactly that. She's going to be right in there with whatever the most liberal establishment leader they come up with. I mean, that's her modus vivendi, her her behavior when she's in office. She may pose as this fighting woman of her gender, but I'll tell you what, she was the perfect lapdog up there in the legislature.
Well, what do you make of the other candidates?
Well, the other running, I think Fulcher overall is the best. There's a lot of aspects about David Leroy I like, and I think he has experience. But my only reservation about David is that when the chips come down, I think he's going to be on the establishment side in the struggle. I mean, he needs, for me to vote for him, it has to be clear to me that he's not going to be jumping on the establishment team in the U.S. House, that he's going to be on definitely the conservative. And he hasn't made any strong commitment that I could see in this that would change my opinion about him on this. I don't want somebody in there that plays another Mike Simpson in the House. I want a fighting conservative in the House.
Hank, thank you for the call.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, remember, coming up this week, Eagle High School, Promote Our School, Secure Our Future, brought to you by Cap-Ed Credit Union, Team Mazda Subaru, and Great Power Learning in Meridian. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie.
Good.
And Kevin Miller in the morning here. Phone number is 580-5436. 580-KIDO. Coming up, the number one movie ever in America was, well, you guessed it, The Avengers, and honoring television's iconic longest-running series.
Can't let you do it. Can't let you break my record.
It's amazing. It's humbling. And sorry, Gunsmoke, you lost a race you didn't know you were running.
I want to yell at him first.
I want to yell at him first.
Hey, has anyone considered the silent treatment?
The silent treatment doesn't work. It doesn't work. It does not work. Oh, okay, fine, it works. It works so well. Please say something. Oh! How long has it been? 3 months? I don't even remember a time before this.
Well, in terms of another movie, my biggest feeling is, we talked about it, it's got to be a movie that people really want to see because of the script. It's not like there's any need for a second Simpsons movie unless it's great.
There we have it, the longest-running show in TV history, The Simpsons, 636 episodes and counting. Passing Gunsmoke, by the way, that's your Miller Morning Montage. Kevin Miller in the morning here at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. A few things that we are discussing. The reaction to the White House Correspondents' Dinner. If you missed it, John Decker was there. He told us about it earlier today.
President Trump tweeting the White House Correspondents' Dinner is dead as we know it. This was a total disaster and an embarrassment to our great country and all that it stands for. The president continued, fake news is alive and well and beautifully represented on Saturday night. The WHCA president said members of the association expressed dismay and concern over how Wolf's routine at the dinner reflects on our mission. As a board member of the WHCA, many colleagues told me they found Wolf's routine vulgar, crude, and personal. At the White House, John Decker, Fox News.
Thank you, John. Are you surprised that people are attacking people for their looks, for their character, for things that they can't control? We'll get to Michelle Wolf's comments and your reaction at 580-5436. 580-KIDO. Do want to remind you this Friday we're going to be at Independence Indoor Shooting for the first time in the state of Idaho. We're going to be, shooting during the morning show. That's right. We've cleared it with the FCC. We're going to be live at the gun range. If you would like to join us, we'll be there from 6 to 9. You want to bring your ammunition, bring your weapons, and check out Independence Indoor Shooting? I think we can arrange that. In fact, you know what we should do, Ray and I? We should actually have some of these candidates swing in and find out just how Second Amendment friendly they are and how good of a shooters they are, right? That's this Friday from 5 to 9 at Independence Indoor Shooting, located in beautiful Meridian, Idaho. So the other night we had a congressional debate, and not a lot of attention going around for who's going to replace Congressman Labrador, which is surprising. And nobody even mentioned Congressman Labrador, who's been the incumbent for many, many years, who's been one of the most conservative members of Congress. And the only thing that I did come away from this debate last night, and again, you had Homeland, you had Steve Harvey and the kids, You have the guy that plays Doogie Howser. He's with the kids. You have Billions. I'm sure you have American Idol. So there was a lot of competition for the show on Idaho Public Television.
And I'm here tonight because I want to be your next congressional representative from the...
Now, this is State Representative Christy Perry that we've had on the program before. I think she made the comments of the night. I'm interested to see whether or not you agree with them.
1st District. Right now, the average congressman is a 58-year-old white male who's been there for a long time, and almost half of them are lawyers. Very similar to half the candidates on this stage, except me. And my one question for you tonight is, what have these good old boys done for you lately? I'll tell you. They've given us a $21 trillion deficit. They have bankrupted the Social Security Trust Fund. They have no solution for our health care crisis or immigration crisis. And right now they're working on rules to infringe on your Second Amendment rights. We need something different. We need a strong, conservative, Republican, Christian woman in Congress. And I'm asking you to send me, Christy Perry, the girl with all the guns, to fight for you.
There we have it. Representative Christy Perry making her case, saying it's the 58-year-old white men that want to take your guns. Now, if you're one of the 58-year-old white men, and there are older white men, there are black men, there are Latino men, there are Asian men, there are women in the House of Representatives, there are women in the Senate. In fact, we celebrated the first time we had a newborn on the Senate floor, which, again, it's Bring Your Kid to Work Day, which I suppose is fine. I don't know if a lot of work is going to get done. And so you have Representative Perry making her case, saying, I'm unique, I'm different. But on one hand, if you're saying that the good old boys are up there, and then on the other hand, you're saying, I'm going to work with the good old boys, do you buy that message? I don't. You know, as someone who resembles that comment, I'm going, well, I can't support that statement. To me, that's something that I would hear from somebody from another party. But that's where you come in. This is not, Kevin Miller Talks. This is Kevin Miller Listens at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. So we have that comment there by Representative Perry. Did that go too far? Or do you think, look, there are too many old white men or older white men or young white men? Again, I don't get the race mention. I don't get the gender mention. But I'm not running for Congress. That's number one. Did that go too far? I think that it did. I would expect that from a progressive, not a conservative. That's number one. Number two, you have the comedian Michelle Wolf rocking the White House press corps on Saturday night.
You guys are obsessed with Trump.
And by the way, there are limited things to what we can actually play because her comments were so vulgar, so obscene. We're not even going to go as close as some of the other shows later in the day obviously will. Again, we want to be a family-friendly show, and we just don't say that. We try to live it.
Did you used to date him? Because you pretend like you hate him, but I think you love him.
And you have the nervous laughter, and this was tame compared to what she did. She went after Kellyanne Conway, saying, well, her last name is perfect for what she does, calling her and Sarah Sanders and others liars, making fun of their looks. And you think to yourself, well, isn't this counterintuitive to the Me Too movement? Where we're supposed to elevate people, where we're supposed to not make fun of people, where we're supposed to treat people as if how we want to be treated. Right, the golden rule, hashtag golden rule, and yet you have this young lady going to the depths of the gutter.
We are graced with Sarah's presence tonight. I have to say I'm a little starstruck. I love you as Aunt Lydia in The Handmaid's Tale.
Again, what's the purpose of that except to embarrass a mother of three, a wife, a daughter, and someone who, in my opinion, has done a great job of handling the press? You have people saying, well, Sarah Sanders lies for the president. Sarah Sanders does this. She was a guest. Would you treat a guest like that in your own home? You know, it was that White House Correspondents' Dinner was very much like a dinner party, a business meeting that goes bad. Or a relationship that all of a sudden goes bad. Maybe you don't want to go to some event. And all of a sudden somebody says something, you say something back, it goes back and forth, and then boom, it just goes bad. Somebody should have just called a timeout and said enough. But it shows you that the contempt that the press has for the President of the United States. Now, the President was in Washington. He was in Washington, Michigan, saying this, a very different America, a very different version of how to spend your Saturday night.
And let me tell you, we've gotten Mexico to work with us on stopping a lot of what's pouring in, but we have the worst laws anywhere in the world. We don't have borders. We're going to build the wall. We're getting it. We've already started. I don't know if you see.
And there we have it. So, again, two versions of America. I'm with the President. What about you? 580-5436, 580-KIDO, and review and commentary on the race for Congress. Do you vote for gender? See, I don't think that gender matters, and I think that most of the people that have held these debates are afraid to let them mix it up. And when you have somebody saying, look, the good old boys, they're 50-something-year-old white men, and look what they've done, where was the follow-up? Well, no, they can ask questions about the president, they can seek to divide, but, well, many people are in their 50s. To me, that's ageism, and that's sexism. Now, maybe I haven't had enough coffee today. We'd love to hear from you next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. And we continue on. Thank you for joining us. Let's go to Craig in Boise with Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Craig.
Good morning, Kevin. I heard the comments from the woman who did the she was supposed to be in the comedy slot at the correspondence dinner, and these people continue to try and make themselves relevant, and all they can do is, if they have any humility at all, embarrass themselves and humiliate themselves by just how immature they act. And the lack of comedy, the lack of real wit is staggering. I mean, luckily it seems to be there were some journalists in the audience, and it seemed to be people who, aren't in the popular spotlight, probably more management types and people who have, positions of authority within the media realm, who were basically saying this is wrong, they shouldn't attack people. But all the lowerlings, if you will, the people who are the faces on television and these so-called comedians, they just don't seem to have much intelligence or decorum or self-respect. They'll go around doing this stuff.
I would agree with you on that. Just the tenacity of the comments, and, I can't even describe them. And you think to yourself, this is just what the libs are about.
This woman, I don't even know her name, Michelle Wolf, is it, or something?
Right.
So Donald Trump started out with, he got some seed money from his father, and he's basically gone ahead and he's made a lot of money and he's lost money, he's made money, he's lost money, he's made a lot of money. What's this person do? They have a couple writers, maybe they write some shitty jokes, and she has the audacity to think she isn't even, as far as business and success, and equal to the president. Boy, some of these people are just full of themselves, really full of themselves. I just don't understand it, how they can do a comparison like that, success to success, if you will. So, anyway, thanks for your time today. Take care.
Thank you, Craig. Appreciate you listening to KIDO Talk Radio. Phone number is 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Let's go to Dwight in Boise. Dwight, good morning.
Good morning, Kevin. I have a proposal about what we can do about the media, and not just with this White House dinner, but anytime a news anchor of one of the networks says things that are outrageous, in our opinion, or that smear us as conservatives or Tea Party or any other similar group, and that is, we need to do demonstrations in front of local media outlets. The TV stations is what I'm thinking about, and especially PBS, and demand that the management of that station repudiate what has been said, repudiate this woman, and repudiate the White House press corps for their bias and slanders against our president, their disrespect of him and disrespect of the office. I believe that it's going to get worse and worse and worse until we, the people, stand up. The people that are running for Congress and the people that are running for governor, they're not the solution. We are. We have got to stop being spectators and take action. Citizenship is not a spectator sport. It's an action sport. And I know this is a bitter pill or a hard pill for people to swallow because we want somebody to take care of us. We don't want to get into action. We want to just maybe call talk radio, but it takes more. So that's a suggestion, and I'd like to hopefully hear other people that have other ideas or agree with this idea. We could get something going. It wouldn't be hard, and I think it could be effective, and I think it could go national if we did it in a clever and humorous way even.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Dwight. Traffic and weather together. And Kevin Miller in the morning here at KIDO Talk Radio. Let's go to Rich in Sand Hollow. Good morning, Rich.
Good morning, sir. I just wanted to say the ridiculous behavior at the White House press dinner this weekend, in my perspective, shouldn't be discussed as poor behavior or, gee, she shouldn't act that way and our liberal friends shouldn't act that way. This is absolute wrong. There's right and there's wrong, and this behavior is inexcusable. Is it within their right to speak how they want? Certainly it is. Is it right or wrong? It's absolutely wrong. And that's my perspective.
Thank you, Rich. Thank you for listening to KIDO Talk Radio.
Thank you.
To the publisher of the Gem State Patriot, Tea Party Bob.
Good morning, Mr. Miller. Did you enjoy the debate last night?
I didn't get a chance to watch the whole thing. I just watched bits and pieces. There was a lot going on last night.
Yeah, there was. That debate was more of the same loony, lame media Muppet rhetoric expounding implied criticism of President Trump as they tried to extract just one more comment out of any of the candidates against him. How we all hunger for some conservative panels to actually ask questions about actual problems that make sense to conservative voters. From the Mueller investigation to from the Mueller investigation to the lands issue, it seems everyone had what they considered to be reasonable answers, but no real solutions to any real problems. And the sniping continued, especially the attacks on Fulcher by the other candidates. And as they say in the Air Force, when you're on target, it's when you start taking flack. And he had plenty of it last night. I don't think we heard much new in terms of the candidates' positions. But last night, it was interesting to see how they answered the dumb questions by Betsy Russell and the liberal lunkheads. Betsy tried hard to get someone to talk about Trump firing Mueller, but nobody was going to take the bait. In fact, Fulcher was probably the only one who had a reasonable answer, saying that it's nothing but a distraction and a basic witch hunt. Everybody else, they didn't really get into it, but it is a witch hunt. It is a distraction, and everybody seems to know that, except for some of the candidates that are running here. He went on to say that Congress should be doing their jobs and running the country instead of going after the president, and that certainly is true. But I didn't hear an awful lot of that going on the panel. Snyder evidently decided that there are only two candidates running in the race, him and Fulcher, but he hasn't informed the other candidates of that, so they're still mulling around trying to get elected. And Christy Perry's attack in her closing statement on men 58 years old in Congress, they haven't screwed everything up. That's not true. And I think she did nothing but shoot herself in the foot, along with Malik saying he can't be bought. Take a look at the 2014 elections and see how much was donated to his campaign